Okay, continuing with the history of Israel, this is part eight, the last part, and it covers from the Balfour Declaration to December 16th, 2023. The League of Nations, now the United Nations, approved the Balfour Declaration on July 24th, 1922. They removed a part of Palestine as a homeland for the Palestinian Arabs called Jordan. And when they had full independence, it was known as the Kingdom of Jordan. And there have been several attempts made by the British to get the Arabs and the Jews to share power in Palestine. But the Arabs rejected every proposal. And from 1922 to 1947, there were several disagreements and the Arab revolts between Jews and Arabs. The Arabs never given in, and they always refused every offer of peace. The attitude of refusing every offer of peace with Israel still remains today. The Arabs' goal is not peace, but is to annihilate Israel completely. That was true back then and is true today at this time. In 1929, the Arabs spread false rumors about the Jews and began a battle with them. There had been a presence of Jews in Hebron for 2,000 years, and many of the Jews were murdered. And in 1936, the Arabs attacked Jewish farming communities and murdered civilian Jews, destroyed livestock and crops. And the British armed about 3,000 Jewish guards that were able to partially defend some of the settlements against the Arabs. In 1937, a British Commission of Inquiry called the Peel Commission was commissioned to find a solution to the conflict. It was determined that the remaining part of the mandate would be partitioned into two states, one for the Jews and one for the Arabs. The Arabs will get a larger part of the land, and there was a strip beginning at Jerusalem and going to the city of Jaffa that would be the international zone. The Palestinian Arabs, again, as usual, rejected the plan, which was then abandoned. The Arabs have rejected every plan up to today. They want to annihilate Israel, not to have peace of any kind. And in late 1937, Arabs renewed their attacks on Jewish settlements, murdering civilians. And in 1938, the Jews instituted a more offensive strategy and inflicted heavy losses on the Arabs, and the revolt ended in 1939. In 1939, with the coming war with Germany, the Jews had to take sides with Britain or with Germany, and they stood with Britain in World War II and sent soldiers to fight with the Allies. The Palestinian Arabs supported the Nazis, and the Muslim Mufti of Jerusalem made several trips to Berlin in an effort to persuade the Nazis to expand their extermination of Jews to those in Palestine. And then the United Nations was established at the end of World War II. In 1947, the British gave the Arab Jewish problem to the United Nations. The UN approved a plan to divide the land into two states, with Jerusalem controlled by the UN. And the Jews were dissatisfied with the amount of land set aside to them, which was mostly desert, and the separation of Jerusalem. The Palestinian Arabs and other Arabs of the world rejected the plan, restated their intention to destroy the Jews when the British leave Palestine. So Israel's Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, declared the establishment of a new Jewish Republic of Israel on May 14, 1948. And the next day, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria invaded Israel. At the end of the war, Israel controlled about 40% more of the land than was proposed by the United Nations partition plan. And Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip and Jordan, the West Bank. And the Arabs did not recognize Israel and still don't. While this fighting was going on, thousands of Arabs fled from the areas controlled by Israel. Over 200,000 Arabs stayed in Israel and became citizens. And then while Israel was taking in Arabs, the Arab countries did not take in the Arab refugees of the war. They were left in the refugee camps to help in a continuing fight against Israel. And these are the so-called Palestinian people. There never has been a Palestinian people, and the purpose of these Arab refugees and other Arabs is to destroy Israel. So, since 1948, there's been many peace plans offered and rejected by the Arabs. The Arabs have continually attacked Jewish civilians and targeted Israel down to this day. And the purpose of these Arab refugees and other Arabs is and always has been the annihilation of Israel and the Jews. A second conflict, known as the Suez Canal crisis, occurred in 1956 when Egyptian President Nasser's nationalization of the Suez Canal. As a result, Israel, the United Kingdom, and France staged an attack on Egypt. And in the mid-60s, Syrian-backed Palestinian guerrillas were attacking across the Israeli border, causing raids from the Israeli Defense Forces. In 1967, the fighting worsened after Israel and Syria fought an air and artillery battle, and 6 Syrian fighter jets were destroyed. Egyptian President Nasser continued and advanced into the Sinai Peninsula and expelled a United Nations peacekeeping force that had been guarding the Israeli border. And on May 26, he banned Israeli shipping from the Straits of Tiran, and a week later, he made a defense pact with King Hussein of Jordan. On June 5, 1967, the Israeli Defense Forces began Operation Focus, which was an aerial attack on Egypt. 200 aircraft left Israel for Egypt. They eliminated 90% of the Egyptian Air Force while they were sitting on the ground. They then continued on to decimate the air forces of Jordan, Syria, and Iraq. So Israeli pilots now had full control of the skies over the Middle East. And then the ground forces moved in. Israeli tanks and infantry went across the border into the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip. They captured the old city of Jerusalem. And then on June 9th, Israeli tanks and infantry successfully captured the Golan Heights. And then on the 10th, the United Nations brokered a ceasefire, and the 6-day war came to an end. The Arab countries were shocked to see how bad they were defeated. And in 6 days, Israel had captured the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza Strip, and the West Bank, and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. The Arab leaders met in Khartoum, Sudan, in August 1967 and signed a resolution promising no peace, no recognition, and no negotiation with Israel. That is still their resolve today. It hasn't changed. And then in 1073, the Arabs, 1973, the Arabs launched a fourth conflict with Israel during the Yom Kippur War. As a part of the peace treaty, Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt in 1982 and withdrew from the Gaza Strip in 2005. Israel has continued to occupy the other territories claimed in the Six-Day War, such as the Golan Heights and the West Bank. And then on October 7, 2023, the Hamas terrorists attacked Israel and killed and took hostages. Israel then invaded Gaza, killing many terrorists and civilians. The war continues on as I make this video. Hamas territories or Hamas terrorists have confirmed their intention is not to make peace, but to exterminate Israel and the Jews. There can be no peace with an attitude like that. And I thank you for listening. Well, I'll get this off in a minute.